Nothing is done about an imam who incites people to further violence by proclaiming that tears of joy are flowing down his cheeks because of what Hamas has done. And we think, and there's been this, if you excuse the expression, you being from Spiked Online, but there's unbelievable spike in the amount of legislation controlling what you can do and say in Australia. It's hopelessly ineffective. It's the wrong answer. It comes out of a culture that doesn't believe in itself. And it's one criticism I will make of many of our Jewish leaders. I can understand why they want the hate speech to stop. So they want the laws to make it stop. But it's a hopeless approach. And I can't help wondering, let me run an idea by you. I think one of our problems is we let these people hide behind, some of these radicals, behind the idea that they should be allowed to say what they like in the name of religious freedom, whereas actually radical Islam, I think, needs to be seen as a political movement that has declared war on our approach, our democracy, our separation of, I happen to be Christian, and I absolutely support the separation of the sacred and the secular. But they don't believe that at all. And so what you've actually got here is a political movement that's now from within as well as from without, seeking to tear down democracy. They're making common cause, as we've said, with a lot of our own people. But I'm wondering now whether we shouldn't sort of recognize this radicalism more as political and give them less oxygen for the idea that this is about religious freedom, the right to condemn others.
I would go even maybe a step further, John, because I think I completely agree. When I was in Australia recently, I had lots of very fruitful discussions with Jewish friends of mine there, some of whom are very in favor of hate speech laws. And as you say, it's perfectly understandable why. This is a beleaguered community, which is sick of being the target of so much hatred, and they want it to stop. And I spoke to other Jewish friends of mine who don't believe that hate speech legislation is the answer. And I agree with them. But I'd go even further because not only is hate speech law not the answer, but hate speech laws have benefited radical Islamists, directly benefited them because they have hid for so long behind the phony idea of Islamophobia. And just to go back to the UK, our year of terror, 2017, 22 kids were blown up at the Manchester Arena while they were watching an Ariana Grande concert. I think 8 people were killed in London Bridge. They were attacked on a Saturday night. And then 4 people were killed on Westminster Bridge in 3 separate attacks. I remember that year so vividly because it was almost impossible to have an open discussion in Britain about radical Islam, or even to use the word Islamism. Forget the word Islam, even using the word Islamism or Islamist was impossible. And in fact, any politician who did that was instantly shut down. And Andy Burnham, who is the Labour mayor of Manchester, after the Manchester Arena bombing, he would only refer to the killer as an extremist. He said, extremists like this are not welcome in our city. And Morrissey, the great English singer Morrissey, formerly of the Smiths, he very wittily said, an extreme what? An extreme rabbit? An extreme nun? What are we talking about here? Why can't we say the word? And the hate speech idea fed into that because we have been told for so long that it's Islamophobic to focus on the problem of radical Islam. It's Islamophobic to suggest that there might be a problem in sections of the Muslim community. It's Islamophobic to talk about this issue. You know, there's a group here called the Muslim Council of Britain, and every year they do a report on Islamophobia in the British media. I was in that report once, and I'll tell you why. Because you will remember the Easter bombings in Sri Lanka in 2019, when radical Islamists blew up churches, Sunday schools, massacred Christians, including Christian children who were burned to death at their Sunday school. And I was very angry about this as someone who went to church when I was a kid, who went to religious classes. And I refer to them as Islamofascists during a discussion on the Sky News here in the UK. And for saying that word about those killers, I was included in this report on Islamophobia because hate speech laws or the hate speech idea protected this ideology from the critical discussion it so absolutely needs to be subjected to. And I think Australia might go down that same path. What you need in Australia right now is unfettered freedom of speech to say that Islam needs to get its house in order, that mosques need to get their house in order. And if they don't, the state should intervene and take action against them. And Islamism, as you say, is a political ideology that poses a threat to the very fabric of our civilization. And that's how it should be treated. So we need the freedom to express those ideas rather than any more curbing off public discussion.